Thanks for tuning this special edition of the Renshaw Report. Remember, they are reporting from the city too tough to die. And we're thankful and grateful. We've got Mayor Mike Passero with us today from the great city of New London. Thank you for taking the time to come on, Mike.
Oh, thanks for having me, Murray.
I'm going to be straight up with you right off the bat. In case you haven't noticed, New London is booming.
I'm glad you noticed.
And I thought maybe it'd be a good time for you to bring us up to speed with what's going on. I do have some questions, but in the beginning, can you give us an update on what's happening?
Yeah, so the development just keeps accelerating. There's almost every day we get new interest, new investors looking, developers looking. We get pitched for new projects. We learn about different properties that are selling, transferring ownership, and I'll tell you we're really at capacity trying to manage all the projects that are going on, and we're also seeing a lot of investment, public investment by the state, by the federal government. As you heard, we just received a $17 million grant from the RAISE grant program, very competitive. We've been trying for years to get this money, and it's thanks to our federal delegation, to Senator Murphy, Blumenthal, and Congressman Courtney, that we were able to prevail and get that $17 million. So that's for expanding the parking garage. So along with all this private investment, there's a need for public investment as well.
Now, with regard to the parking garage money, isn't Julian going to make that building to go higher? Isn't that part of that plan, or is that they?
Yeah, that's not part of this plan. It would be nice if it was. There's been discussions about, if you remember, where the Mariner Square office building is, and the surface lot on the east side of that, down on Water Street. That was originally, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I don't know how long ago. That was, the concept was originally to have two buildings there, if you remember. So one of the projects has been kicking around. I don't know if it's moving forward or not. Was to finally put that second building there. It would require parking, and the idea was to expand the Water Street parking garage over that surface lot, and the building would then go on top of that, sort of like a Harbor Towers type situation. You hardly notice, but Harbor Towers has 3 levels of parking. The first 3 stories of Harbor Towers is a parking garage, essentially, which you don't notice. It was done very, very well. So the thought was that there'd be some economies achieved by simply extending the garage levels over that surface lot, and you save the cost of the ramping systems. And it's a small parcel to try to build ramps and parking levels. So
and right around that same area, the Day reported, I think last week, Dash Davidson bought the Day building. What's the plan for that?
So High Tide Capital, which has been one of the major investors the last few years, they did the Man Waring building. They're doing a project called Riverbank on Bank Street, which is a 3-building cluster that they're renovating. It should be done sometime this fall. It's one of the businesses it's going to house is the brewery that's on Tox Brewery, which is currently on Broad Street, is going to move downtown and expand. They have the record store, Telegraph, which has been downtown for years, has moved from Golden Street to this new Riverbank, and that's already moved. That storefront is open. And by the way, Telegraph's storefront on Golden Street is already reopened as a new retail establishment called The Owl, which is worth checking out. It's a pretty unique sort of boutique type, bookshop type establishment. But they're doing great work. This will be their, if I'm counting, well, this will be their 3rd project, High Tide Capital. So they haven't really disclosed their plans for the properties yet, but we're excited based on the work that they've done that it'll be something something very good.
Are you privy to know where the day paper is going to relocate?
I think it's a pretty poorly kept secret, but as far as I know, it's still secret. Or it hasn't been announced. I mean,
Not to jump ahead or jump behind, but you got an election coming up. You've got to be envied by anybody who's running for mayor in any part of the state these days with what you have going on. Must give you a pretty good feeling.
I'm not sure that. I'm not sure I know about any of that. What gives me a good feeling is I think you can look back to what the promises that I made 8 years ago, what I wanted to do. I think the reason a lot of people backed me 8 years ago, they believed in the vision, and I think that with a great team behind me in 8 years, we have really delivered on everything we've promised, pretty much.
Maybe you could share some inside information. Everybody wants to know who owned that yacht that was sailed in last week. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I don't have any inside information on that. I just know what's public. So I mean, it was you could get the name of the boat, 6 Cents, and look it up online and find out the owner. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
6 Cents?
Six Cents is the name of the boat.
I heard it was a basketball guy.
Yeah, right. Yes. Reportedly, it's the owner of the Miami Heat and Carnival Cruise Lines. So it's 248 foot. So this yacht cost $90 million. I believe it was built in like 2018. This is all public information that's on the internet. It costs $9 million a year to manage. $9 million a year. Now, if you remember, well, one thing I'd like to deliver, and I haven't been able to get any traction at all yet, though continue to try. We have, by far, I think, the best harbor in the Northeast, especially for ships like that to come into. The problem is this ship anchored off. It asked to if it could dock, and we didn't have any room for it because City Pier is full. And a boat like that won't fit at Customs House Pier, and that's all we have for docks. However, if you look at the photos of the waterfront back in the early part of the 20th century, series of docks. The area between Customs House Pier and Shaw's Cove Channel was full of docks and commercial activity, waterfront activity. This is a deep water port, and that section of waterfront, which is currently empty and has no structures that can support marine commerce, it's all just a walking promenade and riprap. That was all developed and supported marine commerce, and it needs to be developed again to support marine commerce. I believe it has to be private investment that does it. That will tell us that there's a market, and I think the market's coming back. And that luxury yachts like that would be an economic boon to the city, simply because it's a $90 million yacht, it's a $9 million budget. That's each one of those is like a small business. It's like having, when it's in port, it's like having another small business benefiting the local economy, because that ship will need, everything from flowers to groceries to servicing, mechanics, everything you can think of while it's in port. And those ships could be cycling in and out all summer long to our waterfront if we had the facilities to support them. So my theory is there's a market for that, and if there is, then somebody will invest their money to put a structure
Well,
down.
you've always been in favor of bringing the Newport crowd over here, and
Well, actually, it's the not Newport crowd. What we want to do is we want to appeal to these boats and let them know that this would be a better harbor for that. We're not looking to be necessarily a destination, though I think once the Coast Guard Museum is here, we'll be competing as a destination as well. But, well, for instance, this boat was here because of an event at the casino. that's, there is a connection, and I think we should be in a position to benefit economically from yachts like that.
Let's talk about traffic a little bit. Traffic is brutal these days with everything that's going on. Is there a plan being formulated, or is it a situation that you're looking at with regard to the high volume of traffic and the issues that are going on?
Yeah, so that's one of those good problems, I guess you could say. That's a symptom of our success. I think what we're doing, I don't think, what we're doing is we're doing things like instituting the Smart Ride, where that is catching on. It's like a pooled Uber. Rather than use your motor vehicle, I mean, so many people in this town think if you live on the north end or on the south end, you're driving 2 miles to go to the center of town from either direction. It's such a small distance. You're getting in your car, you're moving it from your driveway, and then you're trying to find a parking space downtown. It'd be easier to use some convenient form of mass transit. So we are trying to improve our capabilities to move people around without their automobile. You'll notice that we did bike routes all over the town. More and more people, you see more and more people on bicycles. And of course we have a first-rate network of sidewalks, which we've been investing in for over 10 years. And it's a very, very walkable city. The idea of these new apartment buildings that are being built, you'll see the employees of our major employers, EB, Yale New Haven, L&M Hospital, you'll see them walking. The major employer, by the way, is not EB or L&M or the colleges. The greatest employment opportunities come from all of our small businesses. And as we grow our small business network, you'll see folks walking to their employment because the city's so walkable.
So there's no real plan to...
Well, we're a 400-year-old city. I mean, our road network was laid out in sort of a hodgepodge developing over 400 years. If you look at it, there's very few things we can change. We work with the Council of Governments for some of the major projects. For instance, the Rotary at Chester Street, which we think is going to really improve traffic circulation. You're right on the Rotaries down at Shaw Street. Yeah. We've had great success with them.
I think it's going to work well.
You're not sitting at lights. Think of those intersections without the Rotaries. So that Rotary up there, we thought that intersection was perfect for a Rotary. We got the support of the state and the Council of Governments, and that project will be done, thank God, within a week or two. And we think that that's going to be transformative for the traffic flow up in that area. There's other ideas. We want the state to take a look at Garibaldi Square again. That's a bottleneck at peak hours. We did put in a new signalization system at Tilley and Bank, where Spar Yard Street is. That was an expensive project. It involved 3 traffic light situations, well, actually 3. At the end of Green Street on Tilley, and at Tilley and Bank, and at Spar Yard and Bank. Those are all brand new modern traffic light and signalizations. So it still hasn't really solved the backup there, but we've got it moving better.
So you do recognize there are...
Yeah, we're continually trying to work on it.
How about the dirt bike issue?
That's a tough one, though. I don't want to jinx us, but it seems to have quieted down a little. But there's limits to what we can do there. Hopefully, the reason we're seeing a bit of a decline in that bad conduct is the work of our detectives. What people have to understand is there's not much we can do when there's a gang of motorcycles out on the street, except to have good surveillance, try to develop good intelligence, and to find these bikes when they're not on the street and confiscate them. And the bikes we confiscate, the owners do not get them back. There's no right to appeal. There's no anything. It's what's considered an in rem proceeding. The bikes are gone, and we destroy them. So that's that's our strategy, and it's about the only strategy we have to. But we don't want anybody getting hurt when they're on the road. So there's a limit to what we can do once they're on the road. People don't really understand that, but they have to try to think about it. And there's laws that restrict the ability of the cops to do chases and that sort of thing. And it makes sense if you think about it. So
another issue that is often discussed in the day paper on social media is the housing problems that have arisen with regard to low-income housing. Well, any housing, really. It's very difficult to find a place these days. What are your thoughts on where we are with that?
Well, the governor has recognized New London as doing a first-rate job as far as the housing crisis goes. It's important to realize that it's hard to find housing no matter what economic level.
What are we doing?
We're building. We're building housing, and it's supply and demand. So, and we're building housing across all spectrums, all economic levels. We have supportive housing projects underway, low-income housing I'm going to call it subsidized housing projects underway, as well as market rate housing projects. The market rate housing projects are very important, especially for New London, because we're building an inventory of housing that we did not previously have. If you think about our housing stock, it's the apartment complexes that we have. They're 40, 50 years old. They're not modern they're not what people are looking for in this day and age. These new projects that are coming online on Mansfield Road, 2 new buildings, the docks at the corner of Bank and Howard, the Beam down on Howard Street. These are really modern, first-rate, really quality housing. It fits that market of the workforce at our larger employers, and it takes the pressure off the rest of the housing stock in New London. So these folks that can well afford those new apartments, and that's what they want, and that's where they want to live. They're snapping them up. There's waiting lists as soon as these buildings are ready. And it takes pressure off the rest of the housing stock in New London. But we also have the project up on Bayonet Street. We have Garfield Mills, which is moving along. We have the Vessel project, which is moving forward.
Where is that?
That's on Bank Street. That's the new modern construction method.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Now that seemed to be coming along quite well. I don't see how they're going to be ready by September, but I like that building.
Yeah, well, I think the jury's out. I do know that it's a hell of a lot better than an empty lot. It was always going to be a challenge to be able to build on that site and get a return on your investment. So this particular construction technology, which is cutting edge, brand new, really just being tried out. This is only the second building that this company has constructed. Personally, we're very impressed with the operation and more than willing to consider proposals from them for more buildings in New London. Other cities have turned their nose up at it. I think we're really smart to be taking advantage of it. This is 21st century. That's a 21st century building.
You haven't mentioned Fort Trumbull proposed housing project where the gentleman's going to build 500 units down there. I mean, that's astronomical.
It's needed. And it shows that there's a market.
Are they going to be condos or houses?
Well, that's not, the market will determine that. Whether these, no, they're going to be apartments or condos. Okay, they're going to be apartment buildings. They're going to be, high density buildings, high density housing unit buildings. And in a city like New London, that's really what you need to do to accommodate the housing need. But whether they're apartments or whether they're condos, the market decides that, at some point in the project when you have to make that decision. So up to this point, the condo market hasn't really come back, though if you talk to any of the current owners at either Harbor Towers or Shaw's Landing, they're very encouraged because the value of their condos has gone up considerably. There's no longer these units aren't sitting on the market any longer. They're in very high demand. So that's encouraging that perhaps condo market will reestablish itself here. Though I have nothing against apartments. I think that's a great way, to populate your city and to get the economy charged up.
But the fact of the matter is the deal has been struck and the developer is
The site plan is going to be before planning and zoning. It's such a large proposal and such a large site plan that they're going to schedule a special meeting. Planning and zoning meets on the first and third Thursday of every month. They're going to schedule a special meeting next month just for that particular proposal.
And how about the hotel?
That's the earlier site plan that was approved probably a year or so ago by a company. I believe the company's name is Optimist. At least that's what I know them by. I'm not sure what company was, what the name was that was put on the site plan. But they have a residential housing complex and a short stay hotel that's been permitted for the eastern part of the peninsula down where the Coast Guard station is. That circular drive, we've changed the road configuration there to accommodate this project.
And that's happening?
That's permitted. Construction hasn't started, but I haven't heard that it's not happening.
Unfortunately, the paper reported that the transfer station is not taking any more commercial waste. What's the story with that, and where are the commercial guys going to go to get rid of the debris?
There's two things behind that, two reasons behind that. Probably the instigating factor, to be perfectly transparent, was state DOT. We own the property under the bridges, but we only can use it based on a contract with the state, which has the air rights. So they discovered that we were accepting commercial waste, and it's not part of our contract with them to be able to operate under the bridge. Especially the situation with, I think what really pushed them to come after us was the situation with the yard waste. I don't know if you ever looked at the mounds and mounds. It develops quickly, and most of it is being generated by commercial haulers or commercial landscape companies. So based on our contract, we had to stop doing it to satisfy the state, and we need to renew our lease within 2 years with the state, so we're interested in keeping them happy. The second reason, though, and I think this is important and probably discovered along the way when we had to think about changing the policy, was the taxpayers in New London are actually subsidizing the acceptance of that commercial waste, because we're not charging what we have to pay to then turn around and get rid of it, because it's just a transfer station. So we have tipping fees where we take the stuff to get rid of it, and we're losing money on it. Meanwhile, there's a commercial operator right around the next block over on the rail line, that CWPM, that is in that business and accepts that commercial waste. So we're simply directing the commercial operators over to that commercial transfer station.
And let's talk about Ocean Beach for a minute. Ocean Beach must have had a great year this year. Dave Schrager's going to give you a big check again this year.
I'm not sure that's true. I haven't gotten any information on that. I do know that. I mean, I've felt for him this year. It's been a tough year weather-wise.
Jeez, I thought the weather was great.
Yeah, I don't know where you're living, but he's had to cancel. I don't know if it's half his shows. Yeah, we're having back-to-back fireworks because one of the fireworks shows had to be canceled earlier in the season. One of the big acts. So it's being rescheduled for this Friday, this fireworks, which is back-to-back because we had them last Friday as well. So yeah, I don't know. He's had some big days. There's been some. The story of this summer is the days that are nice are spectacular, but then like this week, it's really crappy weather all week, and so the weather-dependent businesses like City Dock down at Customs House Pier, they're having a tough go this year.
What's the status of the manning of this police department these days? And we up to
No,
manpower, or do
no.
we need more guys?
No, one of the greatest ironies of my term has been the fact that when I started out, the goal was to get to 80-man staffing, and we really didn't have the money to do it. So the first couple of years we had to hire, expand the force by 3-4 positions because we didn't have the budget. Now we have the money, but you can't find people interested in that career. So I'll tell you, Chief Wright is doing an amazing job recruiting. You'll see periodically we're hiring as we can find officers, but and this is not just for New London. All across the nation and all across the state, police departments are having a very hard time staffing. EMS as well, by the way, which is a looming crisis, trying to get EMS workers. So we're working very, very hard to recruit. We really want to recruit local people. And Chief Wright is a great ambassador for that. He's out in the community. He'll stop and talk almost anybody into trying to get them to take a job at the New England Police Department. We'll train you, and it's a great career.
Getting back to parking just for a second, Terry Red has revolutionized the parking business in New London. He took over. He commanded. That's not the word I'm looking for. But anyway, he's got parking meters all over the place. What's the status of the EB parking these days? And you're making a lot of money off of him as well.
Yeah, well, he's really the poster child for one of the campaign promises I had 8 years ago, which was professional management. And I was blessed to have a number of these directors join the staff from the very beginning, and they're all still with me. I mean, one of the main reasons I'm running for re-election is I have just a terrific team. They're all dedicated. After 8 years, you don't see any fatigue. They're all still going strong. They love their job. Kerry's one of them. I mean, he just loves what he does, and he does do a good job at making money off of the assets he has. So he's really turned that. When I was elected, it was a parking commission. We turned it into a parking authority, and really made it into
Do you see a parking garage being built down EB area?
I don't think I'm at liberty to disclose what plans are in the works, but it all becomes public next month. So we'll see if it's part of the site plan of this developer.
We can't squeeze any information out of you here today.
Here, the problem with structured parking is it costs like anywhere from $25,000, $30,000, maybe $35,000 a parking space, per parking space. Structured parking is very, very expensive. We're only able to do it downtown at the Water Street Garage because we got a federal grant for $17 million to do it. It's very tough for a private developer to be able to do that. Now, perhaps with a partnership with somebody like EB would guarantee the parking revenue. It may work. We've been obviously pushing to try to have that.
Oh, he's got something going. Kerry Red's got something up his sleeve, man.
Well, he's done it. He's built parking garages in Hartford, so he knows how He knows how to get it done. Yeah, if anybody can get it done, he can for sure.
So basically, what you've told us today, you have absolutely no problems.
Are you kidding?
We have no.
Look at me. I've aged 20 years in 8.
Doesn't seem to me like there's any problems.
Well, yeah. You don't have. You should have Steve Field's job then. Tell him there's no problems. See, the beauty of it.
I'd like to be Steve Field's assistant. That's who that's the job I want.
He'd love to have an assistant.
Yeah. Well, how about,
we work without any bench. We really are pretty slim operation for what we're trying to do. And that's probably, when you say you don't have any problems, we have challenges. And one of our biggest challenges is capacity. We really do a lot with a very, very lean staff. There's no bench. There's no backup. We don't have backup for people's jobs. But we have very low turnover. People love their jobs, and it's a great team. It works hard, and every day there's challenges. Every day there's incredible challenges. But if you operate as a team and just work through it, then you go home at the end of the day satisfied that you did what you could.
So before we close out, you know, in this area, we've got municipal elections coming up in November. There's a challenge. There's no challenge in Waterford. East Lyme is going to be an interesting race. Your race is not going to be that interesting. What's your relationship with the Board of Education in the city, and what is the percentage of the budget that goes to our education department?
Well, half of our, this has been the same for decades, and it hasn't changed. Half of our $100 million, this is in very rough figures, half of our $100 million general operating budget is Board of Ed. However, half of that Board of Ed half is funded by the state. It's a weird setup. The money comes to the city and then just goes straight to the Board of Ed budget. So our budget is sort of artificially inflated because of the half of the Board of Ed money that's coming from the state, and half comes from the taxpayers, you in New London. So roughly, just say $50 million Board of Ed budget, $25 million comes from the taxpayers, comes from your mill rate, is built into your mill rate. Half of that, the other half comes from the state. And that, you know, that's how it is. As far as the relationship goes, I have a great relationship with in fact, I was just meeting with her on her front porch yesterday evening. I have a great relationship with the Board of Ed President, Elaine Maynard Adams. We're working together good. There's always challenges between, you know, the Board of Ed's needs, the city's needs. It's, you know, it just is what it is. But I think the relationship's been better than I've ever experienced since I've been involved, going back to, you know, my first term on the city council, where relations were just terrible between the city and the Board of Ed. I was sort of a newbie, just sort of watching, but it was really toxic. It's not like that anymore. We did one of the greatest things in partnership, the city and the school system, by purchasing BP Learn Admission, by creating the Child Resource Center, the Birth to 8 Center down there, by more than doubling the pre-K classrooms that the school system is able to have. I mean, it's our goal is to make sure that no child in this city is denied the opportunity for pre-K education. It's so important to give those kids a leg up when they get into kindergarten, and this facility is allowing us to provide our families with services that they were not previously able to do, and it's a true partnership between.
There's a tremendous traffic problem down there, you know.
Yeah, with all of our schools. We do have a plan for that location. We do have a plan that we should be able to get the construction done in the very near future. We're going to open up the back of that lot so it flows through, because we also own the parking lot behind. Is that Walgreens there? We also own that parking lot there, so we're going to connect the two parcels together, and that relieving the parking situation there should be easy. Some of our other schools, it's more of a challenge.
How's your relationship with EB?
Good. You know, Carrie's really our ambassador, and most of our interaction is over parking. But we have a good relationship with them. They have a big challenge, you know, building those subs. They are laser focused on their mission and that incredibly complicated work that they have to do. But we have a great relationship with them.
Is there anything else you want to say before we close out? I know you're busy.
Yeah, nope. It's been an honor serving. Obviously, I'm pleased with the team that I put together. I think we're just going to keep moving forward. There's still a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to the ribbon cutting for the community rec center. It's been, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years since we've had the YMCA in the city of New London. I think that this new community rec center is going to be really the heart and soul and the convening place of our community. And the construction's underway right now as we speak. Looking forward to that ribbon cutting and having that new, really fantastic municipal facility up and running.
So we're out of time, Mayor. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Murray.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the disciplinary action you're going to take if Steve Fields didn't bring you the keys to your car. Mayor Passero, keep up the good work. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for watching. Maria signing off from the city. Too tough to die in London.